or afternoon or evening or whatever it is in your world. In my world, it's late morning. And welcome to another one of our Comm 101 quick tips. This will be the last one for this week. And I just really quickly wanted to talk about some of the things that good speakers typically always do when they are preparing for their speeches and when they're getting ready to give them. Don't have to share my screen. So as you see, 6 things great speakers always do. These are habits that we just tend to get into when we're getting ready to give a speech or when we are giving a speech, things to remember. It's good almost to write these down and have them as a checklist. Okay, did I do this? Yes. Did I do this? Yes. Did I do this? Yes. And that way you know you're ready to go for your speech. The first thing good speakers always do is they remember to earn the gift of the audience's time. Granted, we're in a class and you have to give speeches, and of course we have to listen to each other's speeches, but realize that we only have X amount of time on the earth, right? And we don't know when that ends. So when somebody willingly gives you some of their time to listen to you talk, they're giving you a gift. And so you need to earn that gift. Don't just get up and just give a monotone, boring speech just to get over with it. Earn the gift they're giving you of some of their precious time. Make it worth their while. You have to, like it or not, part of public speaking is keeping people sort of entertained or engaged. You want to make your topic relatable to the audience. When you're done with the speech, you want your audience to feel like, that was worth my time. I'm glad I did that. That's the end goal. So remember, however you create your speech, you need to earn that audience's time and the gift they give you of paying attention to you while you speak. The next thing that good speakers always do, they find topics they're passionate about. And what's really nice with this course even, you get to pick your topics out. You've got informative speeches and process speeches and persuasive speeches, but we don't tell you, hey, you have to talk about this topic. You get to pick that topic. So pick something you're interested in. Pick something you like or you love or something you want to learn. And later on in the semester, we'll talk about ways to find topics. Find something you really do care about, because that shows when you talk about it. It comes out of you, and that typically will get into the audience as well. It's transferable. You're almost contagious with enthusiasm. So you want to, if you're going to give a speech, do something you enjoy, something that you like to talk about. And you also, at the same time, want to make sure you're credible. So if you're picking something you already know, that you already do, you've got to establish that in the introduction, right? We talked about that in another quick tip. But make sure you do know this topic and the audience understands that you know the topic. Or maybe you're picking something you're really interested in and you say, I've always been interested in blank. And so I started studying it and really digging into the research of it. And I'm hoping down the road to be able to do it, when you're still establishing some credibility, you're showing enthusiasm for your subject, and that gets contagious onto your audience. So find things that you do want to talk about. You're spending your time, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is, talking about something. It might as well be something you really like too. It gives you the motivation to get better speech, which of course gets you a better grade. And you get the opportunity to share your enthusiasm about this with someone else, and maybe they get inspired to be excited about it too. So pick topics you really want to talk about, that you really have a passion for. That means you're probably going to give a better speech, and you're probably going to get your audience engaged better as a result. Next thing good speakers always do, they know why it matters to them, and they know why it should matter to the audience. So you're already passionate about it, right? Why does it matter to you? That's part usually of how you establish your credibility. And you may pick something that maybe the audience doesn't know about. You're going to see some speeches later on. You'll see a speech later on about a topic called alopecia, where hair falls out. And the girl in the speech does a really good job of explaining it's affected her. It matters to her because her hair fell out. And you might not have that problem right now, but you might know somebody that does, or you might run across somebody one day that does. And rather than have to ask about it or risk, insulting someone or hurting their feelings, because of the speech, you'll now know what it is. Or maybe one day it'll happen to you, because it can happen to anyone. And now at least you'll understand the basics of it, because I'm going to tell you about my experience. And now you've just taken your topic, you've told them what the topic is, you established your credibility, you explained why it mattered to you, and you explained why it could matter to them. It doesn't always have to be something the audience has already had happen to them. It could be something that down the road they may encounter, and it would be beneficial to know something about it in advance. And they could, when it happens to them or they run into somebody, they go, I had a speech about this. I remember what this was. And so understand that and explain to your audience why it's important for them to know this particular topic. Good speakers also rehearse what they've experienced. They rehearse how they're going to give the speech. I know you've not heard me mention practicing or rehearsing at all so far this week, right? You cannot over practice, and really good speakers practice, practice, practice. They do not walk in and wing a speech, because typically that shows the speech falls flat. It's not nearly as good as it could be. Even great speakers know better than to just ad lib out of the clear blue. They rehearse, they practice, they watch themselves on the video. They get people to watch them when they're practicing and get input. You want to give the best speech you can. And to get to that, you've got to do things along the way. So practice, practice, rehearse, get as much feedback as possible. That's what the good speakers do. Good speakers also craft the speech as a conversation. The last thing you want to do is get up in front of people and just blurt off a bunch of facts and then sit down, and they're just kind of like, wow, I just feel like I got lectured. These aren't lectures, these are speeches, but you want your audience to feel as though it's a conversation. You speak, and we'll talk about this when we get to delivery, you talk in the same manner that you would in a conversation one-on-one with somebody. And the really good speeches that you'll see, and you'll see a lot of really good ones, the TED Talks are this way, the Toastmaster competition speeches, you haven't seen one of those yet, but you will, are that way. The really good speakers aren't communicating at you, they're communicating with you. It's more of a conversation. And yes, it's mostly one way. It's rarely where the audience is actually conversing back, but it still feels like a caring person talking to someone, rather than I'm standing here today lecturing you like a lot of classes are. That's not what we're after. We're after a conversation. So they practice it and they write it so that it seems like a conversation. And you'll see some really good examples of that as we go forward too. Another thing that really good speakers do is they harness the power of movement. They understand using gestures. I have 3 things I need to talk to you about today. These could change your life. You want to use movement because it accentuates what you're talking about. And I think in one of the other quick tips, I talked about the fact that a lot of speakers, they'll talk about their main point, and when they transition to the next point, they'll actually move across the stage. You'll see the Toastmaster speakers do that, and you'll see a lot of the TED Talk people will do that as well. They move at very set points in the speech, and it's because they're emphasizing that things are changing in the speech now because I'm changing my position in the audience. And you use that to further show the audience what's going on rather than just hearing it. So movement can have a whole lot of effects, and we'll talk about that some when we get to delivery. It'll be in the delivery chapter as well. So these are just things that really good speakers do when they're getting ready to give a speech, and I wanted to share with you those 6 tips because you could utilize them as well for your speech that's coming up this week and all your speeches that are coming up in the next 7 weeks, because believe it or not, we're almost done with week 1. and they will help you overall to be a better speaker. And these are things you can use down the road. You know, a lot of you will wind up in jobs where you have to give presentations. Doing these things means you give a better presentation. That stands out to employers, and it matters when it comes time for promotions and raises and, hey, we want you to head up a project, you present really well. These things matter down the road. I've lived it, I've seen it happen, and these tips can help it happen for you too. So that's it for today. Hope you all have a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to your speeches this week, and I will see you down the road.